Well, welcome to this week's episode of the Cart Barn. We've had a great week. A lot of things going on in the state in the golf scene, and we'll start out with Greg. You had a recent trip to Minnesota. Tell us a little bit about your trip up there.
It was a great trip. I'd never played in Minnesota and never really thought about playing in Minnesota and got invited up. So we played 8 rounds in 5 days, which is way too much for somebody my age and the other two guys who were older than me who went up there. But we played some fantastic golf courses. The last 2 days, we played a course called the Quarry, #1 ranked public course in Minnesota. And we also played the Wilderness at Fortune Bay, which is ranked #2. Way too hard for us, especially at the end of the week. We weren't quite as fresh, but
Yeah,
it was a great trip and came back sick. You can tell in my voice, I'm a little bit under the weather, but it was a great trip. I highly suggest, if you're looking for a place to go in the summer, Minnesota's pretty good spot to go. Low humidity and some great golf.
we don't have that here in Alabama.
No, and I'll be writing about it on AlabamaGolfNews.com, give some people a little bit more information about the courses and how good they are. So be looking for that.
Well, this past weekend was my birthday weekend, so I just spent time with friends and family. Had the big green egg fired up, did some ribs, and watched it rain. Gosh, we had nearly a foot of rain poured out of my rain gauge over the weekend, but it was a good weekend. And then we had some really good golf in the state. The state mid amateur was held down at Indian Hills Country Club in Tuscaloosa. Very fine golf course. They've redone it. It's really good. And Ben Reeves was the winner. I think that was his first AGA event to win. Hames Snedeker, who is the brother of Brent Snedeker, who plays on the PGA Tour and recent winner of the Payne Stewart Award, finished second. Hunter Hawkins coming in third. And out of the senior ranks, Shaw Pritchett from Montgomery finished tied for fifth due to a very strong final round. So, congratulations to those guys in the state mid amateur.
And there was professional golf had a little bit of a presence this week from the state. Patton Kazire, Montgomery native, Auburn grad, in conjunction with Nick Clinard, Auburn grad. Good segue there.
Yep.
Won the Procore Championship out in Napa, California. His third win, first in 6 years. So, congrats to him. He won by 5 shots. And then with a little SEC flavor, former LSU standout Ingrid Lingblad came to Old Colony in Tuscaloosa and won her first professional event on the Epson Tour. So congrats to her. She's a star in the making.
Absolutely, she is. She can flat play. Like I said, a lot of really, really solid golf going on in the state of Alabama this past weekend, and more to come. So, real quick, I want to thank the listeners. You and I got some exciting news late this weekend via email. The Cart Barn podcast, in its inaugural uh, launch in 1 week, we finished inside the top 20. We are actually number 18 nationwide in the golf genre podcast. Gosh, I never really thought about that, but I was just blown away that happened. And it's thanks to the listeners, thanks to you guys who um, listened to it, downloaded it, subscribed. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I mean it's awesome. I was looking for a foam finger that said we're number 18, but I couldn't find one. But maybe in the future we can get inside the top 10 and
Maybe so.
but we're number 18 and there's a lot of golf podcasts out there. So thanks to the listeners for
Yeah, thank you so
that.
much. Well, we're going to try to continue to grow that. We want to try to do a better job with the product, and I think we're stepping into a really good podcast this week with Auburn's coach Nick Clinard. Didn't really know much about Nick when we interviewed him, but gosh, what a impressive individual! And they obviously have a very good program coming off a national championship this past spring.
Yeah, I think if you look at the SEC top to bottom in golf, I mean it's again, it's a premier league and a lot of people making a lot of investments in their teams. Auburn had an incredible season. Nick was previously at Central Florida as a coach. He graduated from Wake Forest, and he's been at Auburn now for 16 years, I think. So they're a national power now. There's no doubt about it, and they had a tremendous season, well-deserved national championship on the Plains.
Absolutely. We'll let's jump right in to this week's podcast with Auburn's coach Nick Clinard. Today we're joined by Nick Clinard, the head golf coach at Auburn University. We're happy to have him. Coach, welcome to the podcast.
War Eagle, guys. I appreciate you having me on.
Thanks for joining us, Coach. Congratulations on the national championship. I imagine it's kind of been a whirlwind for the last few months, and it's still going.
Well, first of all, thank you. I really appreciate that. It's been a little bit crazy, but it's always crazy in the summertime. That's our eval time for recruiting. Both my assistants to get out and watch kids play and evaluate them and try to find the right fits, not only on the golf course, but in the community and the locker room. So it's been busy, but it's a good thing. I love what I do.
How was the visit to the White House?
Oh, it's pretty cool walking through the front door.
Bet.
There was no security or anything, was there?
Just a little bit. But, it was great. I mean, obviously, I have a chance to go inside there. I did a great job. Unfortunately, the president wasn't there, but they did a good job with it. Got to go on the South Lawn, got to go inside. It was a pretty cool experience, to be honest. Hopefully, one day I'll get to go back.
Next
There you
year?
go.
That's the plan. That's the plan, right?
Of course.
So we thought we'd talk about. I mean, that was just a dream season last year. I think one of the more impressive stats for me was like 47-1-1 against SEC teams. That's crazy in today's
Fingers crossed.
SEC.
It is. I mean, heck, the SEC in every sport, right? I mean, the top to bottom is the best of the best, and this is where all the great athletes want to come and get an education and play sports and compete. To have that record, I mean, yet sometimes you just got to pinch yourself and knock on wood and see what we accomplished. But we got some guys in that locker room that can flat out play, and they believe in themselves and they believe in each other. It kind of all worked out. We got lucky a little bit along the way too. I think anytime you win a national championship, you got to have a little luck on your side too.
You had actually two of the best players in the country. Jackson Cohen comes up with a season just on top of everything else. Did you kind of land him? And sure, his play maybe even exceeded your expectations coming in.
It did. He's the number one player in the country coming out of high school. He grew up in San Jose, California, and we just identified him early as a kid that we liked. We went out and watched him play. We just kind of saw a little edge to him from a competitive standpoint. He had played in the Future Masters in Dothan in Alabama, and when he was a little kid, and he'd driven through Auburn. I've actually got pictures on my phone. His mom sent me of when he was a little kid with in the bookstore buying Auburn gear and Auburn sweatshirts and and all that good stuff. So, but we worked him hard, and we were lucky enough to get him, and he came in and just typical freshman, right, for the first month or whatever, trying to find his way. And, he came in early in summer school, which I thought was a good idea to kind of get his feet on the ground and get used to class and workouts and things of that nature. And, he played great. He exceeded our expectations. And I just talked to him this morning. He won the Western Amateur this week, stroke play portion. They go to match play now, and he hasn't let up. He is all gas. And I'm actually caddying for him at the U.S. Amateur coming up in Minneapolis. So that'll be fun.
You in shape to do that?
Man, I need to hit the treadmill. I went to the gym this morning now, but I looked at the treadmill and I kept on walking by because I think in recruiting I walk about 12 miles a day. So I just went and lifted weights instead.
Probably have one of the light carry bags for you. He won't throw a staff bag on you.
No, that's going to be the caddy's decision, and it definitely won't be a staff bag.
That's good stuff.
Talking about the recruiting aspect, Chris and I both played at the University of North Alabama ages and ages ago. The recruiting process today is a whole lot different from back in the late 70s when I played and when Chris played.
Well, first thing I'll say is relentless. I think you have to do it every day. You're always recruiting. You're always thinking about it. At least I am. My personality is that way. I mean, I woke up at 5:30 this morning and I'm thinking about kids I'm recruiting. Who I need to call, who I need to text. That's just an everyday occurrence. But it's just, you have to go out and you got to identify the guys that are right fits. The right fits in the community, right fit in that locker room, guys that have a skill that can play at this SEC level and compete for national championships. But recruiting is not easy, as you guys know. You're going up against Alabama and Georgia and Florida and Texas and LSU, and the list goes on and on and on. These kids can't make a bad choice. You just got to, do and sell Auburn and believe in Auburn, and we do. And we've been lucky enough to sign the right guys over the last 15 years, and have really kind of elevated our program.
How much has the national championship kind of helped you in this year's recruiting cycle?
I think it's opened the door a little bit with certain kids, the top elite players in the country. I think it's opened their eyes to Auburn. Hey, let me learn more about it. Let me get there. Let me see it. Let me touch it. Let me feel it. Let's see if it's somewhere I might want to attend. But overall, it's a grind every year.
Coach, you've been
you know,
doing this for what, 23 years now?
I know it's a long time to do anything, isn't it?
It is in some ways. The older we get, the less that seems to be. But I wanted to touch on a minute, just kind of get a little bit about your coaching philosophy and your approach to coaching and developing players.
Yeah, I'm a very hands-on coach. I love to teach. I love to coach. I love to be involved with these guys. I'm very much like a life coach too. I think probably 30% of what I do is golf. The other 70% is just being there for them and supporting and encouraging and inspiring and trying to help these guys, grow and maturation process at a young age. We have them between 18 and 22.
Hmm.
They're adolescent males, and we're trying to get them ready for the PGA Tour or the public sector, the private sector, whatever they may do in life. But I love getting down there in the range and spending time with them and look at TrackMan numbers and talk about their game. Where are they mentally? Where's their mindset? What are they physically? What kind of shot shape do they want to hit? Do they understand how to? Do they know enough about their game and their swing to self-analyze? Ultimately, treat them like adults, treat them like athletes. So when they leave here, they know everything about their golf game, they know everything about their body, they know everything about themselves, from a personality standpoint, and where they'll be successful, what areas and arenas of their life they'll be successful, what areas they won't be. We do a very encompassing approach to everything from a development standpoint.
Well, to that point, as you've been doing this for some time now, what are some of the common challenges that players face, and how has that changed or not changed in the time that you've been coaching?
I think probably the number one challenge is just figuring out who they are. I'm figuring out their identity. What is their identity statement? Golf can't be who you are. It's what you do, but it's not who you are. It doesn't define you. And I think that's a challenge for some guys that put it on a pedestal of how they perform. It's kind of their self worth. And I think another challenge is growing up. It's just
Yeah.
maturity. I think that's what's so great about college, right? It's just the growing up factor. And which ultimately, I think that's probably our biggest challenge is those areas. It's probably not so much the golf part. It's I'd say on the golf part, probably just how to practice, having a purpose when you practice. Our guy, our physio coach, does a phenomenal job with workouts, so I don't have any challenges there at all. But just kind of making sure they're structured and organized and use their time well. And they're college kids, right? And they're 18, 19, 20 years old. And in this day and age, too, I'll tell you this, they're very easily impressionable. And it's easy to play the comparison game because of
Mm.
social media. There's
Yeah.
always going to be somebody that's faster or bigger or hits it better or puts better or whatever. But you got to remember who you are and just try to be the best version of you every day.
Well
Yeah, I
said.
think from that aspect, they come to you with a very mature golf game, but you got to remember they're still 18 years old, and the maturity aspect, the mental growth aspect is a major challenge. And even though a lot of them play the summer circuit and they're away from home, college is a whole different experience. Mom's not there doing your laundry for you, etc. So,
That's the life part. No, we just listen. We try to keep them on that one lane road, and a lot of them come in as a Ferrari engine, and we just want to keep them on that road and keep them going fast and keep it simple. Have a plan, stay organized. And if they do that, then they're going to be successful no matter what they do.
when you look at the teaching aspect, it seems like every kid today's got a coach and
Yep.
coach. What do you kind of do how much teaching do you do, and when they can send a video back to their swing coach and get a lesson that way? How do you balance that, what you want to see from them and what their coach might be telling them?
I think that's a great question, and we get a lot in recruiting, right? All the guys have their own teachers, and I think there's a difference between teaching and coaching. Teaching is going to be more the analytic side and more of the technical side, whereas coaching is going to be more about the game and how to practice and being purposeful in everything that you do to be the best player in the country. And but they teach. Listen, they're whether it be whoever they work with, right? Whether it be Eric Gestern, um, they choose to help them with their game from a golf swing standpoint. I manage it. It's the best way to say it. They teach them, and we manage it, and we're all on the same page. We're constantly talking to the instructors, giving them some feedback on what they look like on the golf course, what they look like off the golf course, how their practice routines are. And then they're telling us, what's going on. And I know a lot about it. I've been very blessed in my life to coach guys that were on the PGA Tour and traveled out there for 10 to 12 weeks a year. And I probably learned way more, and I know I learned way more from them and the people around them on the tour than I probably ever taught them. To be able to get, close with those instructors and get to know them on a personal basis. And they know how much I care. And I think it's been very, very good for me. Just, constantly learning as a coach, guys be the best they can be.
No, when you look at it, these kids come in with such a great golf game today. I mean, when you look around, kids 15, 16, Tyler Watts, Blades Brown, Russell, these kids, I mean, I can't fathom playing the way they played at 15. I was lucky to break 80, and these guys are, competing playing on the tour events, playing at
Yeah.
such a high level. So how was that transpired over your career?
I think guys, at least it seems this way to me, is that guys are very serious about their games at a younger age now. Obviously they always had that big dreams. We've all had big dreams. I had big dreams playing the PGA Tour and being playing the major championships. But I think these guys they're in the gym. They're in the gym. They're working with their instructors. They have great club fitters. They have TrackMans. They have GC quads. They have putter fittings. The game has just changed, and they know everything. They know. I mean, when I was 15, 16, 17 years old, 18 years old, I didn't really know a whole lot about adults. I didn't know a whole lot about leading edge. I didn't know your effect when you hit it off the toe and why the ball curves in the left. I didn't know all that stuff, and now we do. So the science part of it, I think, has helped. But overall, I think guys are just a little more serious. And maybe it's the money.
Yeah.
The money's a lot different than it was when we played.
Yeah.
I remember it was 72,000 for first place on the PGA Tour. So I think that's changed the game as well. But guys they're getting better and better at younger ages. There's better instruction. There's a lot of great teachers out there. Let's say college golf, phenomenal coaches across the board, and just phenomenal programs. And the best facilities are probably in college golf too. And these guys are getting to college and preparing and you see the success, right? When they get on tour, look what they're doing. Look what Luke Clinton's doing. Look what Justin Coylan's doing. Look what Leslie Abrams did. He made a Ryder Cup like what? You guys remember 3 months after he got out of college. So it's just phenomenal. I think that just goes to show you that how good these guys are at a young age.
Speaking of the money aspect, now you have the NIL situation. How is it impacting college golf and Auburn specifically?
I knew that was coming. It is what it is, right? And I'm all for name, image, and likeness. I think kids that can go out and strike a deal to help them, and whether it be with in the corporate money in the corporate world, and I'm all for that. It seems to be constantly changing. The NIL, obviously, we know a lot about what we read, and I follow a lot of things online trying to figure out this house settlement and things that were headed, all the changes coming in the future of college sports. But the NIL does have an impact. I think it has an impact across the board in all of our sports. It's real. I think it's great for kids. It helps them with summer golf. It can offset some of their expenses if they're lucky enough to get some NIL money. I think that helped us, I think, just from a 4.5 scholarship standpoint, to really help offset some of their costs. So I think that's what a lot of people don't understand, that, in men's golf, whether it be in the state of Alabama or across the board, is 4.5 scholarship is not a lot. Doesn't go very far when you have 9, 10 guys on the roster.
Mm-hmm. Are you getting that question constantly now from kids you're recruiting?
Of course.
Do the kids ask it or do the parents ask it?
They're probably more the parents. They care about the finances. The kids don't care. They're like, you guys figure it out. This is where I want to go to school. You guys figure it out. But I think it's real. It's real in college. And obviously it's real with kids getting manufacturer money or whatever it may be. But listen, at the end of the day, it comes down to, if you play really, really well, then it takes care of itself. Like I tell my guys, if good golf takes care of itself and bad golf takes care of itself.
That's right.
It's pretty simple.
I was talking recently with Stuart Sink, and when he came out, he kind of had to earn his sponsorship money when he got on tour. Played now they're identifying the kids. They want the young guys. He said it's a lot harder for him to get sponsorship money at 51 than a kid coming out of college. Like when Jackson comes out,
Mm-hmm.
he'll have all kinds of offers because I guess everybody wants to identify the next Tiger Woods or whatnot. But it's just changed so much.
Yeah, I played a lot of golf with Stuart. Growing up, we're the same age, and I played Wake Forest, and he played at Tech, so we were in the ACC together and played a ton. He's a phenomenal person. But no, he's right. I remember in junior golf, we weren't even allowed to get clubs or balls. But that's all the junior golfers now get clubs and balls and for a discount price or whatever. So times have changed.
And same vein, what was your path to becoming college coach? I know you dabbled with professional game a little bit.
I did. I actually, this is a great story for in the state of Alabama too. I played professional golf when I got done with college, and I played for about 4.5, 5 years. Then I wised up and figured I probably need to make some money. That wasn't good enough, but I did a UCF job open in Orlando, and my brother played college football, and he was recruited heavily by a guy named Steve Sloan. And Coach Sloan was the AD at Alabama and played quarterback there at one time. But so I called Steve, and being the way Steve is, God bless his soul, he passed away recently. He said, "How's your mom? How's your dad? How's your brother? What's he up to?" And I'm thinking, all right, I got a little bit of handle on this job. I'm 28 years old. I haven't worked my whole life, and I'm outside of playing sports. And the long story short is I came in, he invited me for an interview, and I met with him, and he offered me a job. He gave me $30,000 and no insurance, no benefits, and I said, I'll take it. That was my path to coaching. I had no idea what I was doing, but I learned from a lot of the guys. I learned from Buddy Alexander. I learned from Bruce Huffler. I learned from all these guys, Mike Holder, just observing and watching. What do they do? What do the names great coaches do? And how do they go about being successful? And they probably don't even know that, but I'm always watching and learning.
That coaching has changed quite a bit. My coach in college basically drove the bus, get us to the tournament, give us our $15 a day meal money and a sleeve of Titleist, and said, "Go play."
It's phenomenal how many great coaches there are across the board. There's guys that just know a lot about the game, really good people, and they work really hard. You can't outwork anybody anymore. I think when I started at UCF in 2001, I thought you could outwork some people then. Not anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That has changed dramatically.
Well, Trey Jones and I were teammates in college.
Yeah.
So I've known Trey a long time.
He's a phenomenal coach and an even better person.
Yeah, he is a good person. He's always been that way.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of where do you see the future of college golf going in a perspective on that evolving landscape and the stuff that we just touched on?
I think college golf's in a great spot. I mean, I think, that there's great players coming out of college that are hitting the ground running in professional golf. And like I said before, I think the facilities in college are phenomenal, and they keep getting better and better and better. And you're seeing future tour players playing in the ACC and the SEC and all over the country. And I think with the House settlement, I think going to 9 on the roster is going to be our cap. Obviously they roster management every sport. I think that'll be, I'm used to carrying 10, so 9 will be a little bit of a change, but we'll adapt. We'll figure it out. I think those roster spots are valuable now more than they ever have been.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you did, I saw a study the other day that based on the current numbers in 24-25 in men's golf, there'll be 65 less roster spots in the automatic four conferences. That's pretty significant. Disappointing, to be honest. I think it takes opportunities away from people, but it is what it is, and we'll move forward and keep getting better. I think the college golf's in a phenomenal spot.
Will the roster reductions, while it might impact you guys, will help create a little more parity maybe at the mid-major, lower mid-major level? The thing I want to touch on was the strength of the golf programs in Alabama. When you look at Jacksonville State, Troy, University of North Alabama is kind of coming on as a D1. What
Mhm.
what do you feel about the state of golf, college golf in Alabama?
I mean, listen, I was talking to JC all recently. We were walking the cart path, but we're all recruiting the same guys, right? We were just talking about how good it is in the state. I mean, look, you got two of the top programs in the country right now in the state. I think Austin's done a great job at UNA. UAB just got a new coach to sit the ground running. I think Ben Hannon does a nice job at South Alabama. Clay does a great job at Troy. I mean, you got all you got Sanford now. Don't forget about Big Al, Al Griffin.
Right.
But we got great golf in this state. We got great golf courses. We got a great golf association. The Alabama Golf Association does a phenomenal job running golf tournaments and supporting the next generation of players in junior golf. And I can't be more pleased. And not being from Alabama, but living here for the last 15 years, I can't be more pleased with the state of golf in this state and the future generation of this place, the state as well, in the game.
I know the facilities. Jay's got a nice little facility going in over at the University of Alabama. You guys have got a great facility. Mississippi State's got a great facility. Where does it all can it go from here, and where does it
I don't know if it ever ends, does it? It's an arms race. It seems like that. I don't know. I think you probably see less facilities being built in the future because of NIL, because of the new settlement with revenue distribution. Um, I'm probably not about my president on all this talk, but I think you might see less of that being done and more strategic, investments maybe in the football stadium or whatever it may be for all schools. It'd be interesting to see what the landscape's like over the next 5 to 10 years when it comes to facilities. But you're right. I mean, look at the facilities across the board, all over the country. These people are, these schools are building, and the donors and the board investing in. It's phenomenal. I think this shows you back to your question, Chris. What's the college golf like moving forward? I think that speaks for itself.
Yeah.
I think, especially today now. In the past, you figured the teams from up north couldn't get outside and play, and until April. Now with the indoor facilities and stuff, that's no longer the case, and you see teams like Illinois that are great programs.
Phenomenal. I mean, they got a phenomenal facility, got a phenomenal coach, and they've been one of the best programs in the country over the last 10, 15 years.
When do you worry about the purse strings with the settlement? That's what they say. What, about 20 million or so is not going to be there for schools. Is that going to impact the lower, not the football, not the basketball, but the minor, so-called minor sports?
Time will tell. I think there's some intriguing challenges, I think, for the athletic director and his staff to figure out how they're going to fund all this. And I don't speak just for Auburn; I speak for everybody. I think it's 22 million right now. I think there's an increase every year over the next 10 years as part of that settlement. I think it eventually goes to about 34 million, roughly, in 2034, 35. And that's money that's not budgeted for. So you got to figure out ways. My concern is probably more in the mid majors, in the non A4 conferences. How does it impact them? How does it impact the Olympic sports in those conferences? And I don't have all the answers. I'm just speaking as a sports fan. Time will tell, and I hope it doesn't impact I think golf's a wonderful sport that people can play, the rest of their lives. And I think it teaches you so much about yourself and character and integrity and class. And I hope it doesn't hurt them. We'll see.
How much fundraising do you do as a coach?
Quite a bit, but I enjoy it. Like I've always enjoyed it. For whatever reason, I'm not afraid to ask people for money. So be careful if I call you, don't answer. Okay.
He-
Worst I can get's a no. I always tell my guys, it's like, that's going to go on a date. What's she going to do? Tell me no? It's like the worst thing that happen. No, I just think, listen, it's all about relationships. I think life is about relationships. And, and if you have a vision of what the program is and where it's headed, and I always tell my guys, we're a high-speed train, on board or you're off. And it's the same thing in fundraising. I've always believed, like, I just kind of raised this way, like, don't sit around and wait for other people to build something for you or to get something for you. Go get it yourself. And I've always done that, and proud to say we've built our facility off of our donors, and can't be more thankful for them. So all of our success would not be possible without them. I mean, there's no.
Well, you've got a nice little rota of courses that you can offer players coming in
Yeah.
down there. If you'd like to speak a little bit about those.
Yeah, I mean, heck, having 3 private clubs within 5 miles of campus. I mean, Morris Mill and Salgahatchee Country Club and the OU Club are all private clubs, and it's just, and what a blessing that is. I mean, you don't have to spend a lot of time in a car, and it helps your academic pursuits. It helps your social life. And listen, I believe having a great social life is healthy, especially for 18 to 22-year-old kids. Like, it's very, very healthy. But having access to all that in our 30-acre facility, and then you have Grand National, which the guys are like, that's way out there. It's 9 miles from campus. So that's when they're pretty spoiled. But everything just being so close in the proximity, and all that. Listen, all the director of golfs and the GMs and the members are just so supportive of our program. And obviously, a lot of them went to Auburn and fans, and they just love having the guys and the girls to play. And I think the members really enjoy that. And it's just been, listen, without their support and without having full-time access at any time they want to go, success wouldn't be possible without them too.
Just got one more. You
Yeah,
set the bar higher, only as good as your next season, right?
I've always, you're only as good as your last game, right? It's a short memory in college athletics.
So you've got Jackson coming back and Brendan
Yep.
Valdez coming back. It's a pretty good 1-2 punch to build around.
Well, obviously having 2 first-team All-Americans, as you mentioned, those 2 guys coming back. And then, listen, Desire Gilbert, I mean, the kid has just taken off. Speaking of high-speed trains, I mean, he is, I think, he's top 40 in the world. For a guy that came in last year this time, was probably about 900th in the world. And he's had a phenomenal summer. He's PGA Tour skill. And then you got Carson Baca, which is, I think he's like 20 something in the world too. So, our 1 through 4 punch is probably as good as anybody in the country. And as long as we can stay healthy. And then we got Brian Eston and Reed Long and Billy Davis coming in. He's the #1 junior in the country coming in to compete. So I think, he's a great player. He's been here for summer school and he's been on the road competing. And the bar is high and our standards are high. Our expectations are not high. We don't talk about expectations, we talk about standards. And if the standards are in the right place, and they are, then the culture is great, that locker room's great, and then we're performing at a high level.
One last thing, and we'll let you go. The PGA Tour University deal. How has that impacted maybe keeping kids in school instead of turning pro?
I think it's been great. I think NIL's been great too to keep kids in school. Look at Gordon Sargent's doing; he's staying in school. I think in the past, he probably would have turned pro because I'm an education guy. I grew up in an educational household. It's a shame that we don't talk more about education and in social media or whatever it may be. I think PGA Tour U has been phenomenal. I think guys follow it. They're excited about it. It gives them an opportunity, to get out and chase their dreams. And ultimately, it comes down, if you play really good golf, it takes care of itself.
Yeah.
Great.
Well, Coach, I can tell why you've got such a successful time at Auburn and as a career, just listening to the things that you had to say today. And it's been a pleasure to have you on our
Thank you.
podcast. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you guys. I really appreciate you guys.
Yeah. Yep.
So we want to thank Auburn men's golf coach Nick Clinard for being our guest this week. What a great season they're coming off of, a national championship, and we wish nothing but the best for them going forward this season.
Absolutely, Greg. Didn't know a lot about Coach Clinard, but what an impressive individual, and the things that they have going on. The Auburn golf team is very impressive. And to echo your comments, I want to wish them all the best this coming year. And then this coming week, we've got another great guest lined up for you. I think you're going to really enjoy, have some laughs and some entertainment and a pretty good story. So tune in again next week to the Cart Barn Podcast, and we'll have another exciting episode. Until then, thanks a lot. Keep listening.